Welcome back, Professor. So now, since we are already done with the implementation on the cloud, the next part of the project demo is to redeploy this application in a containerized environment on Kubernetes. So before we jump to Kubernetes, I forgot to mention the challenges which I faced with the cloud deployment. I mentioned one where I defined that uh, y- you have to define the TCP port under the security groups, right? If you want to expose your environment on the public internet. So other than that, what other challenges which I faced initially is that I was not able to tag and push my image from the local repo to the cloud repository on Elastic Container Registry. So the issue was fixed. What I came to know that what I was doing initially, right, using which I have shown initially that this AWS configure to authenticate your AWS account with your local system. So I thought it's a one-time job, but then I came to know that it expires after every 8 hours. So you have to reconfigure or re-authenticate your account if you want to tag and push. For example, if I want to tag and push the image tomorrow, I have to do it again. So this was the one problem which I faced, and I found the fix that I have to re-authenticate again and again after 8 hours. The second one was when I was creating this task definition here. So whenever you are creating a task definition, right? So under this step, when you're adding container, we have to make sure that we are not missing a single alphabet here. So I was missing one last alphabet, so that's why it was, though I was able to create the task, but that it was not able to pull the image from the repository, the cloud repository, and not able to containerize that. So it took me a while to understand that this was wrong here in the image, and I fixed that issue, and I was able to um, run the containerized application. All right, so let's jump to the Kubernetes thing. So with Kubernetes, let me explain with the help of flowchart. It would be much easier to understand, right? So first of all, yeah, the two process initial process are same. And when I say Kubernetes, now you might be thinking, okay, you already deployed an application on cloud, right? Now why on Kubernetes? So the answer is that Kubernetes is an orchestration tool. Other than deploying a containerized application, it also manage the life cycle of the containers. It provides you auto scaling. You can scale up, scale down your application, and like you are deploying the containers on the virtual machine, here you deploy the containers on what is known as pods. So it helps you to scale your application, scale your environment as per the need, right? So that's few example or services Kubernetes provide to manage, to orchestrate the containers, right? So coming to the flow chart, these two processes are the same. You have all the application dependencies, the codes, the requirements files, everything. From that, you create a Docker image using a Docker file. So I forgot to share what a Docker file looks like. Let me show you now. Yeah, so this is a Docker file, how it looks like. So what it's doing is the from keyword says that you have to, okay, sorry, yeah. The from keyword says that pull a Python image, since it's a Python application, so you have to pull a Python image from the Docker Hub. This is the maintainer, the person who's maintaining this application. And then whenever you containerize this image, this Docker file is helping you to create a Docker image, first of all. And once you have this image in a container, whenever you run a container, image boots, right? And whenever it will boots, it will follow the same process. So it will update everything. It will install the dependencies of Python libraries, everything. And and initially this is one time job, the copy and the working directory. What it's doing is whenever you create an image, so it will take everything from your local system directory, that is in my case it's web app. It will copy each and every content of the web app, and it will create a replica on the image as a working directory. So whenever the container runs using this image, the container will focus on this web app inside the image. And inside this web app, there is a app.py code for the application. And every time the image runs inside a container, this will it will execute this application.py code. And it will also focus on the requirement of text file. It is nothing, it will just help you to install the latest version and libraries for Flask, for Python, for HTML, everything. So let's jump to Kubernetes thing. Yeah. So once you have your image created, which you already have, the next step is same like AWS. You have to tag and push the image, this time on a Docker Hub registry instead of AWS. So now in Kubernetes, there is a concept of deployment.yaml file, and every deployment is done using on these .yaml file. So inside this YAML file, you define how your application deployment, how your containerized application deployment will take place. And inside and you also need an image, right, to create a containerized application. So from this Docker Hub registry where you have pushed your image, that image will come. You have to assign a path here to go this at this place and pull out that particular image. So once your deployment is done, now the next part is that you want to access your application, right? So that's when the services.yaml file comes into play, right? So this services.yaml file, which is an object like deployment, it will help you to expose your deployment over the internet. It will help, it basically helps to expose the TCP ports, you can say, how you can access your application over the internet. So, and once the services is deployed, you can access the application on the public IP or your cluster public IP interface, right? And also, once your application is running, you can implement a Kubernetes dashboard, which we will also do in the last step of the Kubernetes demo. And using that dashboard, you can manage the resources which are running behind the scene of the application. For example, like I mentioned, pods. So we will inside this deployment file, we are also defining that how many pods we want to create, how many replica sets we want to create. So even if you can take care of the auto scaling. Even if one pod is going down, another one will create on its own, because it has to maintain that particular limit of two pods at a single minute or second, right? So let's jump to the deployment. This is the another diagram which will help you to understand this whole process with the Kubernetes. So with what I'm doing is I will use Minikube as a cluster, as a Kubernetes cluster to deploy this application. To this will depict the same scenario of a on-prem deployment instead of cloud, right? So because whenever you say these on-prem scenario, these on-prem approach is very useful, as after this deployment, the application can be easily deployed on the cloud or everything, uh, specifically for the production, for the enterprises, for the big firms, right? They want to test the application at their own level, at their own infrastructure, right? First, before deploying to anywhere. And also sometimes there are restrictions that some organization, they don't want to deploy the application on the cloud because of security reasons. So they want their own infrastructure, their own servers, their own data centers to run the application. That's when the Kubernetes clusters can is also a good choice. So like I mentioned, I'm using Minikube. So Minikube runs a single node Kubernetes cluster on the local server, so that you can try out Kubernetes for the DevOps or development or deploy your application, right? So once you are done with, so this Minikube, before we install this Minikube, the first requirement is to install the kubectl. So kubectl is nothing, it's a CLI tool used to deploy the application, or used to check your cluster resources, used to check logs or something. In short, you can say these are the command line commands, basically meant for Kubernetes only. So once you are done with the installation of kubectl or Minikube, you have to define deployment.yaml file and service.yaml file. Once you are, then you have to run the commands to deploy these two YAML files, and you have two options. If you have a pre-installed, implemented dashboard, you can use GUI based to deploy these file, or you can we are focused on CLI because it also gives you a wide range to see, right? Instead of you just you can do it from dashboard as well, it's pretty easy, but I will focus on CLI as of now. And same, meanwhile, like I mentioned, you have to tag and push to the Docker Hub repository, and this information will be added in the deployment file before you deploy this. All right, so let's start. Okay, so like I mentioned, we already have a Docker image in place, right? Docker images. So we will use, this one is not required. This is from the AWS demo. So we will use the same demo image in our case. So the first part here is to create a repository on Docker Hub. So this is my login on Docker Hub. This is from my earlier test for the same implementation. So let's create a new one to show. Let's give it a name as a demo. Now it's created. Perfect. All right. So now we have to tag and push this particular image. As you can see here, this image doc demo image, we have to first tag this image with our Docker Hub repository, which we just created. So we will give this image our image name, and we want to keep the latest tag of this image, and this is the Docker Hub credential username, and the repository we just created. Enter. Yeah, it's successfully tagged. Now it's time to push the image. This is the Docker Hub repository we just created, and now it's starting. It will take few minutes, and once it's done, we can jump to the deployment and uh, the deployment.yaml file and the service.yaml file. So let's not wait for it. Meanwhile, once we can jump to the next phase, understanding the deployment and YAML file. Also, I would like to show you that we already have kubectl installed. So if you want to let's validate it first, because we might need, we are going to use kubectl commands, right? Yeah. Okay, what's wrong? Oh, I'm missing one hyphen here. Yeah, so kubectl is active and installed. Now let's check if we have Minikube installed, and better if we start it right now. So this Minikube start command is basically to start the cluster, the Kubernetes local cluster, right? So on which we will deploy the containerized application. So like I mentioned, so Minikube, it runs a single node Kubernetes cluster on the local server or your system, so that you can install containerized. It will give you a Kubernetes environment basically. So like you can say here, it has started a control plate Minikube in a cluster Minikube, right? And it's prepared. Initially, it was preparing Kubernetes, and kubectl is already configured and this cluster is up and running now. You can use it. And here also the image is successfully uploaded to the Docker Hub repository. Let's validate that. Let's we go to demo. Yes, we can see it here. All right, perfect. Let's close this. All right. So our next step should be to prepare a deployment.yaml file. So this is what a deployment.yaml file looks like. So as you can see here, this part is deployment.yaml file. Don't let's not discuss what's this. I'll share more insight on that. So what I'm saying here is this API version. This tells which version of Kubernetes API you are using to create this object. And when I say object, it is deployment. So deployment service, they all are objects. So, and what kind of object you want to create? We want to create a deployment. And I gave this deployment a name, final project demo. And what this specs selector field defined, it defines how the deployment finds which pods to manage. Pods are nothing, they are just the virtual machines, you can say. They are the worker nodes. So each worker nodes have pods on which containers runs, and inside those containers you have your applications, right? So I have given the pods as a name, demo pods, and this replica says that how much pod you want to create. I say 2. So, and also at any given second you will have 2 pods running. Even if you delete one, it will recreate one pod on its own. That's what auto scaling about. You don't have to worry that your application will get fail because you have lost your pod. The system will, on its own, it will create another pod for you. Okay, then finally, another spec. This spec defines the containers, what you want to create, how you want to pull an image, from where you want to pull that image, and what you want to give a name. So what I'm saying here is, okay, in this spec field, I have defined containers. So I want to give this container a name, demo container, and under the image, I'm saying that okay, go to this Docker Hub user repository, and under this Docker Hub account, go to this repository demo, and whatever the image name with the latest tag, like you can see here, we have a tag with the latest, right? Under this demo field, demo repository for this user, right? So I'm saying that go to this account, go to this repository and pull that latest tag image and containerize that image under this container, demo container, and then give that, expose the TCP port 8081 for this particular container. So this is the deployment.yaml file. It will create a deployment for you, and inside that deployment, it will create 2 pods. And inside those 2 pods, you will have, in each pod, you will have a container, demo container, and inside that container, you will have your image installed and your application running, and the container port is exposed on 8081. Now, next is service.yaml file, right? Once you created a deployment, and then you have to create a service as well to expose the deployment on the public internet, right? So this is what a service.yaml file looks like. Same like deployment, we are defining API version, the kind of object, it is service now instead of deployment, right? So we are giving this service a name, correct? So, and also, uh, you where you want to use this service, right? So the answer is, you want, the containers are running inside the pods. So containers are exposed on TCP port 8081, but for the outside world needs to come, the traffic needs to come on the pods, which are the virtual machines. So we are saying that okay, expose this service for the pods itself. Target the pods, okay? And under this pod, the service, we are defining the service type as node port. So what this node port is a special service type in Kubernetes which makes your service available to the network request from the external clients, from the external web or external internet, right? So under this node port, we are defining use TCP port, and this will be the service port. Define. I'm keeping both service port and target port as same. You can use people can use people use anything they want. I just to avoid the confusion, I'm using the same. So this is the service port and this is the target port. In short, you can say this is the port that pod is listening on. So the request will come through node port service on this port, the service port first, then it will get redirected to the target port of the pod and later on to the container, right? And also we have to define one node port instead of the simple TCP port. So this node port has a range of 3000 to 3267. If you are not defining here and you are just defining the type, the system will take any port, random port, but I have defined 32,000 as of now, right? So what what is now going to happen whenever you try to access your application on the web, on the public interface, so you will have to access that IP on node port 32,000. That then it will redirect the traffic on the services port. Services port will redirect the traffic on the target port, and then you will get your application. Okay, let's implement it using the CLI. All right, let's see. We have to be in the same directory where the files are located. All right. So to deploy the deployment.yaml file, the command is kubectl apply -f deployment.yaml. Sorry, deployment.yaml. All right, perfect. So as you can see, it has created a deployment and it has created a service named demo service. It has created a deployment name final project demo. So now you must be wondering, see, hey, you haven't run any command for the services. So that's what happened because I have I have added the complete services.yaml file in deployment file only. If you can see here using this separation, I have added services as well. So with only one command, I have implemented both deployment and my services as well. So if you can see, if I run this command kubectl get all, so now you will get a much better view what I have done. So as you can see here, this is from the previous implementation. Like I mentioned, I have given this deployment a name, final project demo, and so it has created pods, right, of name final project demo, two pods, and it has also created a service like I mentioned here. I have given the name of service as demo service. It has created a service demo service, no, type node port, and it has mapped the services port with the node port that is 32,000, right? So any traffic coming on 32,000 will redirect to services port and then it will redirect to the node pods and all. And as you can see here, the deployment is also created a project final project demo, which is having two pods and both are available And also, I would like to mention here that, like I mentioned, a replica set has also been created under the name of Final Project Demo, which means that at every second we desire two pods to be active, and right now they are two pods and both are in ready state. Even if we delete one, it will create one pod on its own. Perfect. Okay. So now let's try to access the application. For that, we have to run a command minikube service. As you can see, minikube. So with all what I have shown here, that now we have everything ready. So that it says that your application is now containerized in these pods, and the service has been created, which means your application is exposed over the internet. So you can access your application on the public facing IP of your cluster, and from there you can see what's happening and if your application is containerized or not, right? So for that you have to run minikube, because it's our cluster service, and your deployment name, that is Final Project Demo. Oh, my bad. Uh, it will be the service name, not the deployment name. And this is our service name, demo service. Yeah, see, it's working now. We don't have to we don't have to put the IP address manually. It's working on its own. So if I say Apple, yeah, it's working here. So if we go back to the terminal here, so this is see, this is what I mentioned before. So this is the public IP, or you can say the default IP, the public facing IP of the cluster, the Minikube Kubernetes cluster with the single node, right? So anyone this is what happens in real organized enterprise level infrastructure. So anyone who wants to access the IP address or the application over the internet, so this IP address is mapped with the node port, right? So like I mentioned here, if you can see here about node port, so whenever this the hit is coming on this particular IP address and the port, it is targeting the 8081, which is the services port. And when the services port gets a hit, it redirects the traffic to the target port here. So whenever a hit comes on this, it it redirect the request on the services port redirect the traffic on the target port. This is the container port. And when container get a request, it gives you your application response back. So now our next part should be that how to manage this application using a Kubernetes dashboard, right? So, and how to achieve, you can say auto scaling. Right now, I don't have a traffic. I cannot, for for example, if you are at enterprise level, right, at big firms, you have tons of user requests coming in, pouring in. So then you can have a live scenario. But right now, to replicate that scenario, I can implement a dashboard. From there, I can access the resources of my application. I can edit, I can delete those pods and see what's happening. If the Kubernetes can orchestrate itself and create the resources itself without any manual intervention or not. So first of all, let's implement a dashboard. Now our application is up and running. Let's implement the dashboard now. So for that, you have to create a ingress rule in the uh, Kubernetes, you have to deploy an ingress file in the Kubernetes, right? So to launch the so that's why to launch the dashboard more interactively, you can say I have set up an ingress on the Minikube, which is actually, you can say, an API object that defines the rules allowing the external access to services in a cluster on in our Minikube cluster. Ideally, the dashboard is accessible on cluster IP address, but using ingress and the creation of core DNS pod, which fulfills the role of a Kubernetes DNS server, I will create a domain name for the dashboard, which is then mapped with the cluster IP address, right? So our cluster IP address is this. So to make it more fancy, you can say, instead of accessing the dashboard on this IP, I also want to create a, let's say, a domain name, correct? So that I can access my dashboard and manage my resources. So for that, we have to first make sure that we have a core DNS service in Kubernetes up and running. For that, let's run this command, kubernetes get pods -n kube system. Yeah, so we already have a pod, a DNS pod up and running. You can say DNS virtual machine up and running in a Kubernetes environment. And inside that DNS pod, the DNS service is running. So we are good with that. So now our next step should be to uh, create an ingress service for this dashboard thing. And to help you understand more on ingress, I have created an ingress.yaml file which will give you more idea on this. So like deployment and service, this time I'm using ingress as an object for the Kubernetes kind, and here I'm giving this service a name, dashboard hyphen ingress hyphen demo, and I'm telling this service to use the namespace kubernetes.stat dashboard. If you see here, uh, kubectl get ns. Ns means namespace. Yep, here. So I'm saying this service to use this namespace to implement the ingress rule for the dashboard, to implement the domain name for the dashboard. So this, it will use the dashboard namespace, and then I am defining a host, or you can say domain name for the dashboard. I'm defining demo5.dashboard.com. So anytime after the implementation, if I run this in the browser, it will give me the Kubernetes dashboard. And also I'm saying that for this host, use the service Kubernetes dashboard on its default TCP port 80, which is the TCP port for HTTP, right? So if you run kubectl get service, so I'm saying just a minute. This is the service which we created earlier. So kubectl. Yeah, so like I mentioned here, right, the namespace. So I'm saying this, use the same service which is mentioned for Kube dashboard, and and use the same port for this ingress service, that is 80, that is the HTTP default port. So now let's implement implement this ingress service to implement the Kubernetes dashboard. All right, uh, we have to run. Let's clear kubectl get all -n, and I want to see everything that is meant for Kubernetes dashboard in the system as of now. Yes, so the one I was talking about here, the service name, what I'm saying, this ingress service to use Kubernetes dashboard service for this to implement this dashboard. This is this service, which is a default Kubernetes dashboard service on port 80 TCP, right? And now we already have ingress file defined, dashboard ingress, right? So it's time to deploy this file, kubectl apply -f dashboard ingress.yml. All right, you can see that we have successfully created the service. Now cube if you want to validate kubectl get ingress -n Kubernetes dashboard. Now you can see that we have successfully created one ingress for Kubernetes dashboard with, and the domain name is demo591dashboard.com. This is the earlier one which I created before this before this demo, and I guess this is already accessible. Yeah, it's accessible. So now our task is to run the dashboard, implement the dashboard on this. We are halfway through. So the next step is to map. This is our cluster IP, public facing IP. So what we are in short doing is we are mapping this domain name with this public IP. So any hit on this will hit this, and then it will go back to the services port, and services port will redirect the traffic to the container port, and the container port is running the application. It will give you the desired application over the web. So to map this, we have to open our host file, sudo vi etc host. So let's uncheck this and add one new entry, 192.168.64.2, and we have given the name demo. What was the name? Demo 591. Yes, demo 591. Demo 591 dashboard.com, and just exit, save, exit. Now if you see, correct, we have successfully mapped the IP, the cluster Kubernetes cluster IP address with the domain name. So now if you just simply open this on a web, demo 591 dashboard, you can we have successfully implemented Kubernetes dashboard now. And like you can see here, the demo we just created, we can see it here. Now we have the option to manage the resources, manage our entire demo we have created for this containerized application, right? So this is the demo. If you come here in the services, it's taking time. If you have this is the service we just created for our containerized application, right? So, and also if you come under the replica sets here, we have two pods. So if you come here in pods, This is the pods we just created, correct? We have two pods because we mentioned two pods, the numbers. And under the replica sets, there are two pods up and running, correct? So these are the rules. Not this is the old one actually. This is the replica set we created. This is the rule which will maintain the count of pods 2 at all times. For example, if I want to show you the feature of auto scaling here, right? So let's say these are two pods and I delete one. So it will create one pod automatically. Right now it's running. See, I deleted this one. One is creating on its own. Correct? This is how Kubernetes monitors the health of the pods and containers and how it performs auto scaling. It scales up and down based on the demand, and it makes the pods fault tolerant, right? So let's say I try it again, delete, or even I can show you one thing like the application is running, right? So even if I uh, delete a container, it still runs. It will run on another one, right? So I don't have to create any manual pod or something. So this is what implementation on a cluster environment in Kubernetes looks like. So you first create, push the image on the Docker Hub, then you create a deployment.yaml file, and then you expose the pods. Sorry, your deployment using a services file, services.yaml file, right? And then using the public IP of the Minikube, you access your application on the services node port, and you can also implement a dashboard to manage the resources of the Kubernetes. So this was all from on Kubernetes and AWS containerized deployment. So talking about the challenges I faced with Kubernetes deployment is the first with the ingress.yaml file for the dashboard. So there was time when I was able to deploy the ingress service successfully, but still the domain name for the dashboard wasn't working. So then I came to know to fix this issue that you have to add the entry of for the host or domain with the cluster IP in the server host file in the etc server host file, right? And also, while setting up this ingress for the Kubernetes dashboard, during the configuration, I encountered an error. Like it was saying that the ingress add-on is not supported. So after troubleshooting and spending some time, the issue got fixed when I reinstalled the Minikube cluster from scratch, and I enabled the ingress again, and it started working fine on its own. So that's all from my side on the project demo for the containerized application on AWS and Kubernetes. I really hope that you liked my work on this project and overall the course. And I really enjoyed this course, learning the Kubernetes, Docker, containerization, cloud, everything. It really helped me a lot to pursue my dreams in future. And I really want to thank you uh, for all the push the way you pushed me in a positive way. I really like I really learned a lot from that, and I really thank you for being my mentor for this course, and I really wish you a best of luck for the future as well. Thank you very much, sir. Thank you very much.